There we go. Okay, cool. Um, awesome. Okay. So yeah, can you? Yeah, perfect. All right. Now, can you state your name, your title in the military, and how long you served?
All right. My name is Darren Lee Moore. I was in the United States Air Force for 4 years, and I left the military honorably discharged as a E4, which is a sergeant.
Okay. And what exactly does a sergeant do?
Um, a sergeant, depending on what your actual role is in the military, could be anything from aircraft maintenance to a police officer. Uh, a sergeant, just in the military, really refers to your pay grade, what you're paid. Yes, so it refers to that.
Cool. And can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up wanting to join the military, or what made you make that decision?
Okay. So I have to definitely say that joining the Air Force was not on my radar screen at all, at all. When I graduated high school in 1984, I had plans to go to the University of Illinois in Chicago to be an electrical engineer. I was selected through the special program that was happening in the city for minority children or teenagers who excelled in math and science, which I did. I excelled in math and science, and at that time, there was hardly any minorities getting into that field, and so they were really going around. This organization was going around to the different high schools in minority areas, looking for potential candidates to join the program. I even didn't have uh, the goal or the career path of actually even being an engineer. Initially, I wasn't clear what I really wanted to do. Um, from as early on as a child, I was always good at lots of things, but I never really excelled at one thing. And so I kind of just made my way through and always hoped that eventually the the choices, whatever the ideal path that I would take, would find itself to me. And so, at that time, I thought it was going to be engineering. I went to school for almost 2 years, but realized through two things. One, the cost of going to school was more than what our family could afford, and also my passion as well was winging a little bit. But the big thing was money. It was very expensive, and so that's why I had to drop out of school. So, while I was thinking about, what are my next steps? What am I want to do? I didn't want to be the typical black young male sitting on the porch, not doing anything. I mean, I had a part-time job because I worked through school, but it wasn't a career by no means. It was just a job that I had to help me. I just felt, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I don't know. I have no idea, but I know I don't want to be sitting around. And it literally, I woke up one day after the thought popped into my head. Oh, okay. You're pretty intelligent, whatever that means. Um, if you want to get away, how can you get away, continue your career path in engineering, but have somebody else pay for it or else help you pay for it, and be doing something, whatever it is. And it dawned on me that the military could be that option. Um, I actually even had this thought that I was smarter than what the military could actually for me. So in my head I thought, oh, it'll be easy, it'll be a piece of cake because, it's the military. I mean, I can do that. I can get through that, and that'll be my way of getting out and figuring out what I'm going to do since I can't finish paying for school. So I said, I'm going to join the military. Now, I hadn't decided yet the Air Force. I just, at that point, when I woke up that morning, said, I'm joining the military. I literally just woke up, had that thought, that's the answer. I knew where the military office was, and I decided I was going to walk there and talk to a counselor and talk to them and see what
Cool.
my options were.
What was it like? Well, why did you join the Air Force, first of all?
So, as I mentioned before, when I got to the military station, I didn't have the Air Force specifically picked out. I knew I was going to, join something. Once I learned the process, at first I needed to take what they call is an AVAP test. I don't even remember what that acronym stands for, but that basically tests your overall aptitude in math and in reading. It's even a mechanical portion because they want to test your aptitude mechanically, to test your aptitude in electronics. And obviously, because I already had a couple of years going towards an engineering degree, and I also took some electronic courses in high school. So I went to a vocational high school, and they offered electronic courses. So I had that under my belt. I had some basic electronic knowledge already. So I already had that. I had already excelled in math and science because I got into the engineering program because I did very well. So when the recruiting agent said, well, first let's take this test and see where you are. Well, I just scored off the charts with the math, the science. I'm not very mechanical, so I knew I wasn't going to do well with that. My brother was the hammer kind of person. I was the hammer put together kind of person. I was more of a very thoughtful person. So that part, I don't remember what score I got on the mechanical portion. But on the math, the science, and electronics specifically, I scored off the charts. And he basically said, with those scores, you can do whatever you want, which actually was what I thought they were going to say, because I knew that I was going to be coming in not like some people who just came right out of high school or people who didn't come out with any kind of electronic background. So again, what I was thinking about through the time after I left the university to the time I decided to join the Air Force, at least at that point, I thought I'd stay on a path of electronics somehow. But then again, how was I going to find a way to pay for it? Oh, and also, at that time with commercials, because this is pre-internet, commercials were always on TV about Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, join the military. We have a GI Bill. So that was in the back of my mind. You can join the military and have the military pay for your schooling. So that was also part of my decision.
Right.
Like, oh, military, they'll pay for a GI Bill. Boom. I knew electronics, okay. So then when I get there, took the test, scored off the charts. He said you can do anything you want to do. Of the 4 branches of service, the 2 that actually had engineering type programs that I could actually go into, therefore start my career in, was the Army and the Navy and the Air Force. So the Marines and the Army were off the table right off the bat because that's more infantry work. That's more just out there shooting. And I needed something that was going to be more brain. That's more of your Air Force and Navy. They take more of the people who are more, not everybody has a place, but they need a lot more people like that. So at first it was going to be the Navy. They wanted me to work on their nuclear program. So I would have been working on submarines, on the nuclear subs, and I would have went off to school for 2 years to learn about nuclear energy and all that kind of stuff. I was like, wow. So I was like, cool, if I did that, that's something. One, I did have the wherewithal to think, I'm going to pick a career field that can transcend outside of the military, that can also be in what I was used to in engineering. But then also I can do it when I left the military and I can have a career in it of some sort. And I thought, that's great. Okay. But the reason I didn't pick the Navy was because I didn't want to be on a submarine. And they told me that I would be underwater for at least 6 months, a year underwater on a submarine up in Antarctic somewhere. And I was like, oh, hell no. I was like, So I literally was like, that's not for me. I got up. So at the office, at the recruiting office, all the different branches, they all had their own individual office inside the building. So I literally got out of that one office, left, said no thank you, and I went over to the Air Force. And I said, what do you guys have to offer? They laid out all their programs, and they had a program that was similar to the nuclear program, but it wasn't a nuclear program, but it was a special engineering / electronic program that they had called a Precision Measurement Equipment Lab Specialist. And of course I qualified for that. And I was like, that's my thing right there. That's it. And that's why I picked the Air Force. I didn't have to go on any submarines, so I was like, I'm cool.
Awesome. No, that sounds scary. So, what kind of now coming into like, okay, you're in the military, you're in the Air Force. What was it like being African American in the military? And I know you actually shared some anecdotes with me the other day. But yeah, just kind of let's start with like, what was, I mean, from day one, what was it like?
Well, so the first
Funny
thing
story.
is right. Well, when I had this idea, where the thought came that I didn't want to be, I needed a way out. I needed a way because I wasn't sure how my career path was going to go, and when it came to me that the military, I could use the military as a vehicle. That's important because there were friends of mine who, when they went to the military, they didn't actually go into the military the way I went into it, with the idea of continuing my education and using it as a vehicle to get me to aid that way.
Mm-hmm.
They strictly went in more with their primary focus was defend the United States of America. I want to be a soldier first and foremost. And what I do within the military, I mean, that's a secondary thing. I mean, as far as what their focus was. So that's important because my focus was, I mean, I knew I was defending my country, but I'd be lying to you if I said that was the motivator. Because there are people, that is their motivation, to be a soldier in whatever capacity, to be a member. And that wasn't initially. What I looked at it as I look back now, was a contract between my country and me. I had something that I knew that they could use, a skill that they needed, and I could give it, and they had something. They could give me support. They can give me the things that I knew that what the military would bring, that community and all that, but we are protecting the United States. That was kind of secondary. So it was like, it all worked together. I mean, I wasn't, I knew what the world looked like around me. Again, during this time when I went in, this is before the USSR broke up. So this was the Cold War. This is during Ronald Reagan years. The climate of the country was different.